I got to ask you a question, man.
What you got? What you got, see?
Actually, not even a question. It's more of a statement. I think I'm ready for the afterlife.
That's a little early.
Only because...
Wait, this is a little scary.
No, yeah. Hear me out.
A hell of a way to lead.
Okay, I have a hotline you can call.
Only. I'll keep it in mind. Only if
Hit it.
I get to eat as much food as Goku does over at King Kai's place.
Snake Road.
That's all I'm saying.
Are you making a Dragon Ball Z reference?
I might be making a reference to one of our again featured Spotlight artist episodes that we are doing. He is the man with the master plan, the man with the golden pencil from glorious Nippon.
Whoa.
I think we all know who we're talking about here.
Todd McFarlane.
Yes. Absolutely. Wrong.
Yeah, Spawn.
Wrong.
The Canuck.
Akira Toriyama, gentlemen.
With the Bucks.
I think this is...
As our spotlight for artists?
Yeah, it's going to
That's
be...
how you start the episode.
That's how we start it.
Damn.
With a little bit of tease. A little bit of the old
This was a little different, because we've
different.
done Mike Mignola and Kirby before.
Yes.
So
International
Toriyama today.
Yeah, we're going international
Yeah.
with this one. International.
Breaking the walls down.
Okay. All right.
I mean, people can expect here not just Dragon Ball stuff, but more or less details on the man's life. You know,
Absolutely.
like stuff about Akira that maybe they didn't already know. But
His
the only way
fetishes.
is if they keep listening. And I think, Botter, you have something to say about that.
Oh.
Honestly, man, I don't, because we cover so much ground in this. I don't think I would do
I was
this
tossing it to you
intro.
so that way you could do welcome to
Justice.
Short Box, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
You didn't pick up.
Well, you didn't. You didn't give me a chance. I was going to say.
Go on.
No. Honestly, see, before, and you're right. Before we start this episode, there's always that chance that we've got that new listener or someone that just found the show for the first time, and I want to welcome them. I want to give them a warm greeting because they're now listening to the Shortbox Podcast, Jacksonville, Florida's premier comic book and pop culture podcast. I'm your host, Barter Milligan. I got my right-hand man, Cesar Cordero.
Mushy.
Edmund Danzart was with us.
Yo.
And Drew Torres was here. So we've got a full cast on the show. And if you're new to the podcast, I want to implore you to subscribe to the show. It's free. And it's available anywhere podcasts can be found. So whatever your preferred listening method is, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, or even iHeartRadio, you can find us and subscribe to the show to make your life easier when it comes to keeping up with our new episodes. In addition, you can connect with us directly on all of our social media outlets, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And that's just to name a few. But see, I think I've done too much talking. I want to jump into this episode. Are you okay with that, Ed?
I'm very okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so look, without further ado, ladies and gents, let's get into this episode. Enjoy episode 196, over 9,000.
Solar flare.
It is indeed a great pleasure to present to you at this particular time the hardest working man in show business. Man, this thing ought to go crazy.
Let's go. Not your Suicide Squad, that's some comic book guys. Back again, another round, safe to say we take the prize. Not a stranger to this thing, or 11, just normal guys. Smooth pop culture, comic game vultures. The L we baby, not just outright golden. You already know how we do for those who know us. iTunes, the short box, come on and join us. It's not a secret to the world that we taking over. So with this war, Dr. Doom, and yeah, the wait is over. So fan girls and fan boys, welcome to season 4. We got exactly what you need, make yourself at home. Season champions ready to give you so much more. Ladies and gents, let's begin. This is season 4. Yeah, the short box. Ha. Let's go. Elevated music. No. Season 4. Let's go.
I guess, what's the best way to start off with a spotlight
You're
on
doing it right
an
now.
artist?
You're doing it right now.
Yeah, thank you.
You're doing it now. You up?
The hypothetical question intro.
Oh, shit.
They're on to me. Shit. Why I asked that is because we got a pretty killer lineup as far as ones that we want to tackle. I think we mentioned Alex Ross.
Oh, yeah.
Bernie Wrightson was one.
Damn right.
I think we wanted to do Frank Miller was one that we wanted to throw out. And I was actually planning for those three, but the spotlight that we got on today, see, I kind of got to give you credit because I think it was at the time I was playing that Dragon Ball Z Fight Night, and you were like, why don't we just do a spotlight on Akira Toriyama?
It's true.
Which makes complete sense, especially with Dragon Ball Super being at the forefront of pop culture right now.
What now?
I think, it's about to wrap up. March 25th, the last episode comes out. They're going to be celebrating, I think, their 20th anniversary or something like that this year. So Akira Toriyama is coming out with the 20th movie at the end of this year. So
That's of just Z 20th. I think.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
like, how long has Dragon Ball been in rotation? Period.
since 1984,
Before original.
Oh my God.
and I mean the States didn't get it until like mid 90s,
Till like
95,
2001. No.
So, see, I got to thank you for selecting or giving me the inspiration to highlight one of my favorite comic book artists. And I never really put Akira Toriyama. I never even thought about it like that. I think Jim Lee. I think John Romita Jr., John Byrne.
He's like, yeah.
Racist.
Butter's like, I only think of comic books, like Marvel and Marvel.
Jim Lee.
Marvel
And
and Marvel.
dialogue.
I like Jim
Jack
Lee.
Kirby.
That X-Men
Only one in the
#1 is
90s.
great. Jim Lee's best work might be Hush. What now? What?
No, really, Hush. Like, see,
He's
Hush
like
with that
DC
shit.
Office now. Yeah.
Wildcats? I mean, anyway, yeah, dude.
Well,
this is he's
This
a
might be
comic
just
book
me,
artist.
but I think I separate easily, like, American comic book artists and then manga artists. And I mean, I know that's not the right way to do it, but there's just such a clear
Build a wall.
Well, I was Team Wakanda watching the movie, so I mean, are you shocked? But really thinking about it, just the amount of influence this guy has had throughout my formative years and my childhood years, and what I really love about pop culture and the medium that is comic books. I think we're justified in taking a turn away from the traditional kind of American comic book artists that we wanted to do, and highlight someone like Akira Toriyama. When doing all this research, you realize he's bigger than Dragon Ball, like bigger than Dragon Ball Z. It's just really hard to escape that reputation in that combination. You think Akira Toriyama, you just know Dragon Ball Z, but he's got a rich history.
Yeah, even if you don't know his name, if you see any of his designs, that's the Dragon Ball guy.
Yeah,
Like
right.
his style is so recognizable.
Yeah. And I wanted to start out with our usual, opener question when it comes to these artist spotlights is, what was your first conscious exposure to Toriyama's work, and what does his name or legacy mean to you? Drew, I was going to kick it off with you, man. What was your first conscious exposure to Akira Toriyama?
Conscious exposure would probably be Dragon Ball, and it would be like early morning cartoons. I just remember waking up super early and watching it.
Where was it coming on at the time?
I don't know. It was either... because we were trying to research that. It was either like USA or... I really don't know. Like it was way back in the day. It was either Channel 10, Channel 9, or Channel 5.
That's
One of those. And I think it was Channel 9. I think it was Channel 9. Like
UPN, I think.
Really?
When I was little?
Yeah.
Like, it was on some whack-ass, like,
It was
weird
Channel 9.
channel.
Yeah, it was Channel 9. It was Channel 9 at 5:30 in the morning.
It was never a major station like Fox or anything like that. It was like, Paramount's ass trying to catch up with everybody else, trying to get a channel. They're like, this is pre-CW. They're like, fucking throw anything on there. Whatever the kids are like, they get desperate.
When we did that Dragon Ball Z Fight Night episode, and Adam was on it, and I asked him, what was your first exposure to Dragon Ball Z?
He
said,
right now.
No, actually, he was the one that brought up, I used to watch it on USA Network, and I was like,
Cartoon Express?
you mean the
Nice.
the same channel that had the Street Fighter cartoon? I did not know they also were showing Dragon Ball Z.
So wait, finish.
Yes,
What's
Well,
what's
that
the
was
legacy?
my first real exposure, but I got heavy into it when I was in the 5th grade, and that's when printers came out, and I just remember people printing out Dragon Ball Z pictures.
And you guys were making fun of me for my.
I don't know.
Do you have a Trapper Keeper too?
I didn't know this was a thing.
No, it was huge. It was huge.
And you would
in Jeff
trade.
Davis.
You would trade
it was,
pictures,
like,
right?
in Jeff Davis, it was huge.
I missed this.
I forgot we went to
Huge.
Jeff
Davis.
Yeah, that's right.
It was huge. Like you would have the Trapper Keeper with the clear, and then people would put
Yep.
black and white, and then if
Ooh,
anybody
you got
had a color printer,
ooh, King of the Hill.
you can trade literally 30
King.
pictures for one picture.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. What was the name of that website?
Oh man, you had GeoCity sites. You had
Pinning out
Angel
JPEGs,
something.
Fire Angel,
FireAngel.
FireAngel.com,
FireAngel.com.
Angel
Angel Fire. Thank you, AngelFire.com, GeoCities.
so
Dragon
weird.
Ball.geocities.
This is cool.
That shit was wild.
Yeah.
You're dialing up, waiting for the load.
I would
line
have
at a
to-
time.
Oh my god! And then if the printer ran out and it would cut halfway through.
Oh god.
Yeah, that now you're bringing me back. So that was my
I'm
first.
pretty sure-
Yeah.
So, what does the legacy mean to you? Oh, as you drink. Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you mid.
The legacy? I don't like.
Because you're still appreciating his legacy now.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
living
he's
it
still-
now. Oh yeah,
dude, he's still talking about those pictures.
I told Butter the other day. Like I was watching, because I didn't.
You guys up for
After
a trade?
Dragon Ball Z, I didn't want to revisit it at all. But then all of a sudden, Dragon Ball Super, everybody's getting hyped off of it, and I started watching it. And I told him this latest episode I watched, I almost cried. It was crazy, how because of Vegeta. I love Vegeta and Trunks so much.
Vegeta's my dude.
And Dragon Ball Super is basically just Vegeta's story.
Kakarot.
There's definitely a
Goku's just
spotlight
there.
on him.
Yeah, Goku's
So.
there.
That was good, D. What about you, C? What was your first conscious exposure to Akira Toriyama?
Dragon Warrior for Nintendo.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That was my before I even knew who he was.
Did you get the free game with the subscription?
No.
They're back.
No. I was at my friend's house, and I was just looking. He was playing, and I was watching how awesome he was doing. He was one of those guys that wouldn't share the control with you, and then when you finally got it, he'd be like, "No, let me show you how to do this." Though,
Especially Dragon Warrior, 'cause that's just grinding the whole time.
right?
Yeah.
Is
So
Dragon
then-
Warrior the same as Dragon Quest? Or
Yes,
is it?
they changed it because at that time there was a tabletop game called Dragon Quest,
Oh,
like a
okay.
Dungeon and
All right,
Dragons.
got it.
So they had to change their name.
Huh.
So that was my first exposure. Was looking through the instruction booklet, and I was like, "This is." I
They
like
had
the,
Akira's artwork in the instructions. Okay.
I was like, I like the little slime. Everything, the way
Yeah.
he draws is kind of.
I think
cool.
he did the package art.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
thing is, especially at that time, a lot of the stuff that came over to the U.S., they usually try to westernize it before
Right.
manga got popular. So
Right.
I was surprised that, because I don't remember, because I remember them doing a promotion because it wasn't a hit. They were real Nintendo. If you were a Nintendo Power guy, a kid, they were really pushing this game because Nintendo had a stake in it. So it didn't sell because this is role playing games, and
Right.
American gamers were just running left and jumping on things.
Right.
So
Right.
this was a
Right.
whole new concept. And so to promote the game and to sell all these unused copies, they basically, you'd get when you get a subscription to Nintendo Power, they would send you the game and a strategy guide.
Oh, wow.
A walkthrough. Remember those strategy guides?
Yeah.
And the game, I'm trying to remember, I think it was $50 at the time for a Nintendo game.
Yeah.
So it's about $100 now.
That's amazing.
So you can get a $20 subscription and get a $50 game and probably a $20 strategy guide
Guidebook
too. So
to help
yeah,
you.
it's nuts.
Artwork
Yeah.
is amazing.
I so that and Chrono Trigger, because I wasn't
Yeah.
watching Dragon Ball Z until I moved down here to Florida, because in Maryland, I guess I saw 1 or 2 episodes of Dragon Ball, didn't know what it was, and it was funny because they were about Yamcha. Now that I'm looking back, and I'm I can remember being this is fucking stupid as shit when I was little. And then when I started watching it in the mid '90s, late '90s, I was like, "Yo, Yamcha's my dude. He cracks me the fuck up. I feel so bad for him. Yamcha is fucking awesome."
Did you see that Arby's ad with Yamcha?
No.
Where he's that dead pose where they make a meme of, and there's fries and different food around him. It's
What?
it's hilarious.
They actually have a Yamcha dead pose figure statue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
It's the
awesome.
#1 bestseller.
Damn.
My brother loves Yamcha too. If anytime I
there's-
try to show him, the picture, he's like, "Yo, get that."
There
on
are
my
some
fucking
die-hard
face."
Yamcha fans nowadays.
I don't get it.
I know that Yamcha has his own spirit bomb.
His fucking hair. His
He
hair
does
is
have
awesome.
Sweet hair.
It's
Remember when he got
fucking
the sweet high top on Z? That shit was dope. He had the
Dude.
badass battle scar.
Yamcha reminds me of Jack Burton from Big Trouble in
Burton.
Little China. Big Trouble in Little China. Because he's a fucking... He thinks he's badass, but he's a doofus. And then...
Like Dan from Street Fighter.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think Yamcha can beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
yeah, that's not even a debate right there.
I'm just, have you guys seen that poster where it's basically the original Suicide Squad?
Yeah,
And
it's Krillin, Chaozu T,
Krillin.
and Yamcha. Yeah, I saw that.
I was like, holy shit. God. Okay.
Poor little boy.
Is he a little boy? How
He's
old
a
is
doll, right? He's a doll.
I have
he's
no
not
idea
a
what's
boy. He's
going
not
on.
a boy.
Then what the hell is the gender? Is a doll just a neutral gender?
He's
gender
plastic.
fluid.
He's got nothing.
Don't assume his gender.
He's got nothing.
asshole.
Are you assuming my Chaozu's gender?
He has nothing.
That's
down
like a
there.
creepy-
He's
Right.
Ken doll.
He wasn't a robot.
He was
Like
he was a
creepy-
king. He was like a little prince. I'm sorry.
He's some weird
Yeah.
alien creature.
And I think
don't know.
Tien was either
Different
his
race.
bodyguard or a hitman. Or, I
Yeah.
forgot. It's been a while, so. Ed, what was your
Fucking
first
Chaozu.
conscious exposure to Akira Toriyama?
Went over it a little bit, I think, on the
Fight Night
fight episode, but try to make it quick. When I was a kid, I went to Taiwan. I got this book, The Journey to the West.
Yeah.
It's a Chinese fairy tale. And so I was like, oh, this is cool. And it's like, well, I want more about it. So I was like, oh, yeah, you like this guy? And then my cousin gave me a Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball manga. So I was like, and I was a kid, I was stupid. And I was like, this is not what I want. What the fuck is this? I want the original thing. But just that's kind of my first exposure to it. I ended up liking it, but it's just kind of like he took some of the characters from that legend, but kind of like how Marvel uses Thor or God of War. They take these mythological characters and kind of build their own story around it.
Yeah.
But they use those as like their just a base. So it's like the Nimbus Cloud when Dragon Ball, when you have the extended
pole.
staff.
Yep.
Yeah, Ox King. Those are all Oolong. Those are all like.
I read
characters.
somewhere that Bulma's supposed to be like the monk or the priestess in the Journey to the West story.
Yeah. So it's
Just more of a
completely
whore.
Yeah.
yeah, it's more because it's just there's like Chinese influence, which is little estranged with the history of the two countries. But just like especially just in the first Dragon Ball Z, it totally goes off into a new.
I was going to
direction.
say, yeah, that's
But
completely
like
different.
Dragon Ball, like the adventure part with him and Bulma and the mountains and stuff, and like those mountain areas he grew up in, that's like, total Chinese.
I was
landscape.
I was telling Botter that that's exactly where a lot of this crap comes from. It's like what you were saying, like all of our superheroes are kind of
it's like-
based loosely on Greek or Teutonic myth.
Yeah.
And then in Japan, he just basically was a dork about Chinese mythology and Indian mythology because
Yeah.
Hanuman, the monkey god,
Yep.
is a direct. Like it's derivative completely of Hanuman, and then you get the Monkey King, and then you get Goku,
Yeah.
Son Goku, as it were.
And he took some elements, but it's not like a retelling
It's
of that
not.
story.
No, it's not that. It's like you said. Like
Yeah.
Thor isn't a ginger that wields a hammer that's representative of his dick. He's not a fertility god in the Marvel comics. He's a fucking blonde surfer
Guy
guy.
like
that,
Hercules in the Marvel
right,
comics too. Yeah.
Right, right.
And real quick, because you brought up something, and I think when I do the timeline review, it'll make sense. But I know with Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama was heavily still using like kind of like his comedic gag reputation for Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And then by Dragon Ball Z, it kind of clicked where he was like, okay, I'm going to do a full action
Like martial
manga.
arts,
Yeah.
serious. Yeah.
And just speaking about art style, we might be jumping around a little bit. I apologize, but in Dragon Ball, with it being kind of more funny focus and like about kids exploration, you can see like a change in his art style from Dragon Ball to Z, because in Z you start getting like those very hard lines.
Yeah. Overly muscular.
Yeah.
like,
So
yeah, super ripped dudes.
I always thought that was pretty interesting. My first conscious exposure, my dad was on deployment, and I remember just coming home from school. I flipped through the channels, and it was the episode where Raccoon is kicking Gohan and Krillin's ass, and he just got done like beating the crap out of Vegeta. I remember my mind being blown. I was like, I need more of this. Like, I've never seen anything like this. I need it. And I remember calling my dad. He was, I forget where he was at, but he would call like every week. And I was like, Dad, you got to check out this new cartoon. It's called Dragon Ball Z. I don't know anything more about it. And
He was
I remember
like,
him saying,
"Which
like,
son is this?"
How did you get this number?
who this? New phone, who this? He was like, my dad was like, now see, boy, that's the issue with y'all. Y'all don't remember shit. He was like, we used to watch that cartoon all the time when we were living in Spain, Botter. He said, yeah, I know all about it. Piccolo, Goku, all that stuff. It's a great cartoon. Watch it. So that was my first conscious exposure. But as far as his legacy, I was telling Drew this. The only thing more sacred in my house, other than like Marvel, is Dragon Ball Z. I call that the great unifier in the house, because all my other brothers, they weren't. I'm the only one that's ever really gotten into comic books with the same passion as my father. But when it comes to Dragon Ball Z, all of us had the same like love for it. Like that was the one thing my mom would let us like hold off on homework. She would let us watch Dragon Ball Z, and then it was homework time. Like that was the rule in the house. You kids come from home from school, you guys get to watch Dragon Ball Z, and then it's homework time. So for me, his legacy is just, I always tie it back to like just good times with my family and just growing up with my brothers. So So before we move on to like some of the other questions as far as like what we appreciate for his art elements, I do want to give a quick high level like timeline of just like Akira Toriyama's just life, and I'll keep it really condensed and short. Go ahead. Steve.
I just have a question for Ed. Is Goku like the staple for why a lot of these superheroes wear orange and blue? Like, is he the archetype? Because you know, like there's like a whole bunch of animes where they
Like
they
Naruto.
There's Naruto. There's the Toriyama something.
He's one of those guys. Like, I know a lot of artists basically say that's his guy. It's like a certain generation after like Tezuka and Go Nagai. Then he's the next generation. So. Yeah, no, orange and blue is a lot the complementary colors, but and a lot of those guys are, he's like an icon to, especially this last generation of artists. So,
and I was going to bring it up because I got a list of a bunch of manga artists that quote Toriyama and Dragon Ball specifically as their influence. But as far as this high level timeline, I did all the homework. I mean, a lot of this information is readily available on the internet, but I did the homework for you guys, so I'll just keep it super short. Akira Toriyama was born in 1955 in Nagoya, Japan. At an early age, he began imitating anime and manga as a result of having no other form of entertainment. Most notably, he won an art contest at a very young age. He drew a picture of like 101 Dalmatians, which he still quotes as one of his inspirations. He says it was just like animation that was really high level quality. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. So at the age of 20, just fast forward, age of 20, he starts working at an advertising agency, designing posters for a few years, but he leaves it due to just not liking the daily grind. 1977 to 1978, he starts entering manga contests that Jump magazine was holding.
Did you read that? There was like a 1997 interview with him about that, like why he got into drawing manga?
No, sure.
He's like, when you said that, he said, I was just doing it to win the prize money, and then I was going to quit.
No, I didn't see that.
This is actually not a bad gig. So
what? Okay, I didn't know that. Cool. Yeah, and you know what? The more I was researching, he's got a very nonchalant attitude about stuff.
Like, he's got fuck you money. So
people want that for like that.
I'm international.
I know. They wanted like, why did you create this Dragon Ball Z, this whole world and stuff? Like, did you do it because like representation? Like,
nope.
Nah,
bills to pay.
Money.
Because they're in this.
So he is Stan Lee. Money.
No, he didn't steal anything.
He actually drew. He actually drew it and wrote it and all that stuff.
He's a creator.
Yeah. So from 1970 to 1978, he's entering in art contests, specifically through Jump magazine. He didn't win neither one of those. Matter of fact, his second entry was disqualified because it was such a parody of Star Wars, and it was titled Mysterious Rainjack. Yet another influence that he quotes Star Wars. So he didn't win, but he did receive a personal call from the editor, Kazuko. I'm slaughtered these names, but I think it's Kazuko Torishima. He said he gave Toriyama a call and said, "Hey, keep it up. You got promise."
Also, make sure you rip off Superman when you get a chance.
So 1978, he debuts with the story Wonder Island, which was published in Weekly Shonen Jump. 1979, he receives minor success with his story Tomato Girl Detective, which I think might have been a prototype for Dr. Slump.
Yeah. Tomato Girl Detective. Yeah. God bless the Japanese.
So translation's always off.
Yeah. So his first two, short stories in Shonen Jump didn't give him much praise, but it was when Shonen Jump started serializing Dr. Slump from 1980 to 1984 that Toriyama really blew up. Matter of fact, I think it ran for 4 years, and they created two like really successful anime series based on his run.
Yeah, and I was listening to an interview with him too. He said like he was kind of, I guess, over of doing the Dr. Slump thing. So on his days off, him and his partner would like try to come up with a new storyline. So he'd work on that 5 days a week, and then the 2 days off he would try to figure out this new concept for Dragon Ball.
Word.
Yeah.
So in 1983, he decides to find his own studio or develop his own studio. It's called Bird Studio, and he creates two mangas out of that. One's called Drago Boy, and the other one is one's called Drago Boy, and the other one's called The Adventures of Tongpo. Which, if you look at the main characters, they're prototypes of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, Drago Boy was like a pilot comic for Dragon Ball.
Yep. So in 1984, we see Shonen Jump. They begin serializing Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball lasts from 1984 to 1995. a total of 519 chapters. They were collected in 42 volumes. I think someone estimated it's about 9,000 pages worth of artwork he did in those years.
Crazy.
And Dragon Ball Z actually
Before
encompasses...
Z, that's how much work he did.
Dragon Ball Z encompasses like the last 325 chapters of those 519. Fast forward to 1986. He starts illustrating characters and monster designs for the first Dragon Warriors Dragon Quest game. 1996 to 1997, Dragon Ball Z airs in North America and Toonami. It wasn't until 2002, when Shonen Jump North America launched, that Toriyama made his only U.S. promotional appearance. That first issue of the American Shonen Jump featured Dragon Ball in like a very rare in-depth interview. Like Toriyama's super, not like I said, nonchalant, very shy.
Yeah.
So he doesn't do many interviews.
Yeah, and before this 97 interview, like a lot of those were more pretty much just kind of towing the company line type of thing. But this, I have to send you a link to it.
Is there a documentary? Is there a Dragon Ball Z documentary at all?
That's a good question.
There's a bunch of like amateur ones on YouTube that I've looked at, but I haven't seen
I found a few books that like amateur whatever writers wrote about the impact of Dragon Ball Z. There's like volumes of them.
Yeah, there's this I think 97 issue of like I guess Japanese had their own version of Wired magazine, and this was like he just basically kind of took a break, like a sabbatical, and he was just very like upfront. Like there's the when you mentioned the Dragon Warrior, they're saying, oh, you did a lot of video game character designs. What are you a big gamer? He's no, not really.
There was a Dragon Warrior
cartoon
show.
Yep, anime,
I watched that shit too when I was little.
Yeah, I remember
before Dragon Ball, which is weird.
Yeah, I remember that because it would come on like, at least here, it would come on like Sundays early, sometimes. Like 8 o'clock one Sunday, and then next Sunday wouldn't be on. But it's but the main guy totally looked like Goku.
So, and I'm going to keep going through the timeline, but the interesting thing is Dragon Ball Z ended in 95, but, he still found a way to still do work. It didn't stop him from, he didn't do any heavy series after that. It was mainly like just one-off short stories, work like that. Like, for example, 2005, he helped design an electric car for a company called CQ Motors. In 2006, he worked on a one-shot crossover
His dad
for
had like a garage, right? Or a
yep,
mechanic.
yeah, he was like a mechanic. In 2006, he worked on a crossover with the One Piece creator. It was called Cross Epoch. 2006, he worked on the character design for Blue Dragon, the RPG game, I think.
Xbox.
For Xbox.
Yeah,
so he did that work. They were actually going to come out with an anime for that, and I think they were going to tap him for it. And he said this was going to be my last my last hurrah. I was going to retire after this. I don't know what came out of that, but in 2008 he collaborated with the creator of Zeta Men and Eyes for a one shot. In 2009 he drew a manga titled Delicious Islands Mr. U it's a rural society project. It's a non-profit environmental organization that teaches the importance of agriculture and nature to young kids. He also drew a portrait for a pop singer for her CD cover and shit. So he's found odd and end job, but I imagine the name itself kind of carried him for these.
Oh, totally.
2011, he collaborated with Shonen Jump to create a video to raise awareness and support for those affected by the 2011 hurricane and tsunami. 2013, now we get back to Dragon Ball Z. 2013 was the premiere of the Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods movie. It was the first theatrical film in 17 years. It had opened on March 30th, and it marked the first time that Akira Toriyama had been deeply involved in an animation as early as the screenwriting stages.
Did it say like what brought him back? Was it like somebody came up to him and was like, "Hey, listen, I got this idea," or was it just like he just had an itch that he had had to scratch?
Saying dump truck full of money.
I bet that. Because by 2013, it ends in 95. What is that? A lot of times,
a lot of times, if you're gonna do, I would say if
years.
any of us had that opportunity to do anything Dragon Ball related, we'd want him kind of at least as a consultant because you're fans, so that could be it too.
I don't have it listed on here, but in the middle of that time, we did have Dragon Ball GT, and Akira Toriyama didn't. There was no manga for that to be based on. It was strictly anime.
It's non-canon.
And non-canon. But they still, he still looked at the storyboard. I think he still offered advice on the design.
So it's still non-canon. It's non-canon. It's not part of.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've read. It's non-canon.
So
he was like a consultant at the beginning and then effed off.
Yeah. So 2013, we had the Battle of Gods movie. Fast forward 2 more years, they came out with the Resurrection F movie that was released in April 2015. And that same year in June, that's when we saw the Dragon Ball Super anime kick off, which once again, I think Akira Toriyama, just from a consultant standpoint, he pitched in advice for the storyboard, character design, etc. So we started seeing him just kind of like Lucas, like from a high level. You got to run it by me first.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to 2018.
People draw 3 things and you just that one. I want that one.
So we got Dragon Ball Super going on all the way until it ends this month, March 25th. There was an article put out that an additional movie will be released to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the franchise, and this is one that Akira Toriyama is going to be heavily involved with the story and the design. So, yeah, he's had a pretty full career, but like I said, you can kind of stop it at 95 when Dragon Ball Z stopped, and that's kind of like the last time he was doing like monthly work. And I think what's interesting is, indeed, I think you were the one that brought it up. When we think the Dragon Ball animes and Dragon Ball Z animes, those are all based on Toriyama's manga. So he did all of the manga, and he's notorious for being very hands-on for this work. I think he only had like 1 or 2 assistants his whole life, and all they did was like backgrounds. They just drew backgrounds. He's the one that actually drew everything, those 519 chapters.
Yeah, his wife's an artist too. So I think
he
helped
married
him.
a manga artist.
I want to know where all those pages are.
Yeah.
It's funny too that bring this back with that 97 interview too. He said that they asked him if, where do you keep your work and what do you think, are you attached to your work? And he's like, well, when it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
I'm not attached to it. And they said they were doing a show with his original artwork and he just had it like just in a pile in his garage, and it freaked the museum people out.
I read somewhere that for him, he was like, I don't think he had any pipe dreams that none of this stuff would still last. I think he said, I just did it just because it was entertainment for people.
Yeah.
It was a job. I came in. Matter of fact, I know he's got a reputation for being very forgetful. He's admitted to like having to write his way out of like storyboard or plot holes because he just waits to the last minute. Or he
Really?
Yeah, he does it as he doesn't plan it out.
He doesn't plan all this out.
Yeah.
He says,
what are we doing this episode? Charge.
Powering up.
Powering up.
Fucking make this guy more powerful than the next dude, and that guy more powerful than that guy.
But when you read the manga, it's not like that at all. It's it's a lot more condensed. I think when it came to the cartoons, they were running into issues as far as like budget concerns as well as like timing.
I think a lot of times too, it's you're contracted to do X amount of episodes, and I think I see this with a lot of like anime that are series. They stretch a lot of the story to fill up like X amount of episodes.
Yeah.
So that could be the case too.
Okay.
So
I wanted to. The next question I had is, without Akira Toriyama, what wouldn't we have? And I think we kind of highlighted some of those credits and creations. We wouldn't have Dr. Slump. We wouldn't have the Dragon Ball Z universe. But we also probably wouldn't have the same. We wouldn't have things like Dragon Quest, Blue Dragon, Chrono Trigger, and those.
You'd have those games. They just wouldn't be. The illustrations wouldn't be there. It's just basically all the. Apparently, a lot of you guys' childhood is more or less.
That's right.
You wouldn't have. I mean, you guys are talking about fond memories of not just Akira Toriyama, but stuff related to it, like printing out pictures of his work, and not even like a poster that's from a sponsored
like a magazine,
like dealer, or a magazine of some kind. But that says something. Like just picture of the man's work was enough for you guys to be like, oh my God, no, you got a color one? Oh, that's cool. God, that's one of the best things you could tell, or at least a compliment to an artist. Is to basically be like, I value this.
I'm not buying your work, son. Just print this shit out.
Well, no, I mean, if he had a problem with it, he wouldn't have put it out there.
I downloaded all your albums, man.
Apparently, he doesn't care.
And see, I completely agree with what you're saying. I think for a lot of us,
there's a lot of good memories attached
absolutely.
to it.
I think
when
a big
you're young.
chunk of my childhood would not be there, but I think it's also safe to say, I'm going to say this, and I think it can be resonated, that Akira Toriyama and Dragon Ball, at least for me, was my gateway into the manga culture.
Oh, yeah.
Matter of fact, he's accredited to being one of the main reasons manga circulation was at its highest in the mid-'90s. And
that and Pokemon. I mean, what two bigger franchises.
Because I mean,
It's true.
I think right now he holds the Dragon Ball at least holds the record for selling. It's the second highest selling manga in the world. It's sold I think 240 million copies in the world, and 6.53 of that is in like just Japan alone or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Another thing that happened is Dragon Ball Super knocked out One Piece for ratings. Like, no, One Piece was like the #1 watch show, but now Dragon Ball Super is now the #1 watch show in Japan now.
Oh, and just to backtrack to the Superman comment you made, there was like in that article too, he was saying that he didn't like that original cartoon where they kind of make him more virtuous, like a Superman type character. Because in the original Dragon Ball, he just wanted to fight. You know, he didn't fight for any real, virtuous reasons.
I'm
He
talking
just
about
wanted to fight.
DBZ.
Yeah.
Like, it's straight up. Like, there's
Oh, yeah.
fucking Kryptonians coming after Zeus.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, I was
Yeah,
the last.
Raditz, yeah.
I'm the Prince of Krypton, essentially. I should be in charge, and then...
Yeah, I don't think.
And he's super powerful, and there's nothing more powerful than him, and you got to keep escalating and escalating and escalating, and it's
I
just
think, and Z just has more of a appeal across the board.
it's also more superhero-y than the original Dragon Ball. Like the original Dragon Ball is just an adventure cartoon.
You mentioned you're mentioning all these interviews. One that I was able to read and I thoroughly enjoyed was he got to meet one of his idols, Jackie Chan. Like there was an article with them sitting down and talking. He had said Jackie Chan's Drunken Master was a big influence on him making Goku, which now I look at it and makes complete sense.
Yeah.
But Jackie Chan was also like, your Dr. Slump manga is a big inspiration for how I was approaching comedy in my movies. I think he even pays respect to Dr.
Peanut butter
Slump.
got in my chocolate. Your chocolate got in my peanut butter.
I think in one of the movies he actually dresses up as that lead, like that little girl in one of his movies. So he was pulling inspiration from everywhere.
And like there's a weird. You were listing off all the video games. There's this, and I had it. And there's
Please
this weird
fighting game?
Nintendo game.
Nope.
No, this is in the 80s, late 80s. It came to the States. It's called Dragon Power, and it was basically a westernized version of Dragon Ball Z. Which is funny because the main character westernized him back to like a monkey character.
I know what this game is.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's shits.
Yeah. Is it like a top-down?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know this game.
That was the Dragon Ball Z game because I remember playing it overseas with the main character.
What's it called?
It's called Dragon Power.
Is it this one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you notice, like said, they have the crystal balls. There's like different characters. I mean, it's basically... And this
Holy shit! It looks. I'm on Google just typing in Dragon Power. So
yeah, Dragon Power. I don't buy this game unless it's $1.
He's got a tail, just like
it's a terrible. You can do like they call it the wind wave. You can do the Kame. Yeah, and it's pretty. It's interesting. Like before manga and anime really hit it big here, how much they would alter these games. So it's because I remember playing it overseas with Goku as the main character, and then seeing the game in the States when I got back. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
So I want to shift gears from actual like factual and just a factual review, but as far as being artists, and this is C and Ed, you guys can lead us off. What are like some specific elements of his style and artwork that like appeal to you? What do you guys think that makes it work so well for it being so recognizable all around the world?
My thing with his art, and I like his kind of like Dr. Slump era, Dragon Ball era, kind of almost like a chibi-ish era.
There you go.
Is all the characters are so well done, and if you look at it at a glance, it looks just very cartoony, but he has a lot of detail if you really look at the pictures, especially like with the vehicles and things like that, how cool they look.
I was about to,
And just the way his composition in panels, even with like the text and stuff like that, it's a lot of motion. He's really good at showing a lot of motion with, like if you read a lot of manga, you see a lot of speed lines and almost unnecessary speed lines. But I think he's really he's really good with the page flow. He's really good with composition, the character design. There's always that thing, you've probably heard it, where if you make a silhouette of them, you can tell who's who.
Yep.
You can say, okay, that's Goku, that's Piccolo, and the way the angles are and the shapes and things like that, and just even like it's his work is really consistent, really recognizable.
That's a good one, consistent.
one of
gonna
the few
say-
Japanese guys that you can say, this is, Akira's work. This is the
Like
Dragon
a
Ball Z
unique,
guy.
like a stamped, like a unique stamp style. Yeah.
I think his originality shines best in Dragon Ball, and not so much Dragon Ball Z as far as the manga is concerned. Because, like Ed was saying, you could take some of the manga that was out around the time and see how it all kind of looks similar. Even the way he draws something as simple as eyes, they're not. They're his
They're unique
version.
to him, yeah.
They're his stamp. They're even the way he draws like a mouth. Like you could look at any just watch like Sailor Moon, right? And you have like their mouths are all shaped the same when they're happy or when they're smiling. Like you could look at a Toriyama character, regardless of whatever the franchise is, and he draws a smile, he draws a laugh, different on every character's face,
very
apropos
expressive.
to their face. Like it's you can't find the same sort of expression. I mean, that and the idea that a lot of artists fucking hate drawing vehicles. Like it's not fun because the creativity's already been created by somebody else. But Toriyama is he's a gearhead.
Yeah.
So you could tell when he draws a car that he likes drawing cars, and that's a fucking great arsenal to have as an artist because he could just fart that shit out like nothing, and already he's good. And then on top of that, he can do fucking cars and then put his own spin on it, make them like weird little
Like all the capsule
futuristic
core
stuff.
machines and
right?
stuff like that.
he's got a mind for that sort of thing, and it's funny that he's very dismissive about it. That he's just like, "Bleh."
It reminds me of and that was great. See, it reminds me of like Jack Kirby, where sometimes the best part about his panels was like the background because it would have like this wild machine, and you're like, where did he come up with this stuff?
And like Jack Kirby, all those old school dudes are like, "This was my fucking job, dude." Nobody thought this was art.
And to speak about Akira Toriyama's, what I like is he definitely draws inspiration from. It's clear to see his inspirations. Like you brought up his knack of drawing really good vehicles. I think also like some of the anamorphic creatures he's got.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's been noted as an actual gearhead. His father had owned like a repair shop, so he was always around cars and motorcycles, etc. But he's also an animal lover, so a lot of his characters, like Beerus, for example, is based on a cat that he owns. And so you brought up another good point as far as like I know I could point out an Akira Toriyama like among hundreds of manga characters. And I was looking back at these games and these packaging, and I'm like, man, how did I not recognize these as Akira Toriyama's creations? Because I don't think no one else draws hair as unique as he does.
Honestly, you didn't see a lot of his outside of that booklet. The cover art for Dragon Warrior wasn't his work. Like even like the Toe Ball series, that wasn't his.
right.
That wasn't his work.
Right.
I mean,
you'd have to
know who he is. It's like, that looks kind of like the hair. Just the way
just the hair.
is and stuff.
Just the hair alone. I
think
you
like
look at it, it's like who
It
else?
looks Ed has hair like a Toriyama character.
That's good.
But like the only one I remember, like when they started reissuing them on like the Game Boy Advance and stuff, you started seeing more of his artwork.
Yeah.
And like Dragon, when they went back to Dragon Quest on PS2,
Right.
then you could actually, when they did the cell shaded, so that was like, you could actually play almost as like one of his drawings. It was closer than just like the little sprites.
What about you? What about you, D? What art elements like capture you? Because
I'm just in all of you.
come
guys.
on, D. Like you.
No, I'm just saying. Like, look, I went on YouTube because it's like one of the things I looked up was just I wanted to see him draw, and there's no videos of him drawing.
Really?
Ever? There's only one. There's only one video of him drawing, and they have it, and it's the most. It's drawing Goku, and I didn't realize that he actually paints their paints.
Yeah.
Like
he's like Tim Sale, like
Tim Sale or Dustin Nguyen or whatever.
Yeah.
The way he does watercolor, like all that's watercolor. When you watch it, like it's freaking amazing. Like, and that's one of the things I read about him. Is one of the things he likes about his artwork was he learned how to paint, and he does it in different colors.
I didn't know that.
How long ago was this video? Do you know like time?
I have no idea, but if you look at it, it looks old.
It looks effortless, too.
Super old. And the guy, and he's just drawing Goku.
Like he's in a samurai outfit.
What is there?
He's got like a brush. He's like,
sushi.
Because I only ever read the manga in black and white,
like
but
Aisha
but
fanning it.
occasionally the manga would have like a couple pages in color, and I always thought it was just like a digital process. They just went in
No,
and
not back in the
recolored it.
days. Not in the 80s.
And that's the thing. I gotta pay.
That's why there's only a few colored pages. Then it's like, all right, that's enough. Enough of that shit.
And I think it makes me respect him more knowing that he has done everything for this franchise. Like we've talked about Jack Kirby and Mignola, one of maybe the few artists who have done everything when it comes to their artwork. But there's a lot of comic book artists that we like, and there's no knock to them, but the colorist might amp it up. The inker might like help, like define their style.
Well,
but
American is more of assembly line.
Yeah,
process.
I was going to say that's churning things out really, really quickly, and it's more efficient to do things that way. It's not like these artists can't do the level of coloring that Toriyama can. Some of them probably better, but because they are just.
And you have to
this
remember,
is your
like,
job. You're a penciler. This is your job. You're an
and they
inker.
have to do this stuff months ahead before they even, because previews is 2 months ahead of release, so they
Right.
have to have this stuff done.
Right.
so
Unless you're like Alex Ross or
Yeah.
just do what you want.
Jim Lee now.
Jim Lee now.
Yeah.
So, and we might have touched on this a little bit, but let's get into a little more depth. What are some of the elements of his artwork that makes him stand out from his contemporaries? And I'll even expand contemporaries, not just manga artists, but maybe comic book artists as well, like or American comic book artists as well.
I think for me, he can combine like a level of detail, but still have a cartoony look, which is very hard to do because the amount of detail people. It's like looking at someone like Jeff Darrow, who draws every candy wrapper and piece of trash on the ground, and it's cool to look at, but it's overwhelming. Like even as much detail as Toriyama puts in his work, it's still everything pops out, and you can just look at it. Oh, that's cool. But if you go back and look at it, you can see all the clothing, all the wrinkles, all the like the just like the especially like with the equipment and mechanical things, you can see all the he doesn't he doesn't really take a lot of panels off except for doing like the motion and the fight scenes where it's a lot of action lines and things like that, motion lines.
Yeah.
So it's that's a hard thing to like just over detail where you can't really tell what's going on. I think even like some of Kirby's stuff can get kind of confusing because it's so psychedelic and crazy, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? But everything pops out with his stuff.
I love his clothing.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, everything he draws, like, clothing-wise and costume designs, and anytime there's a new saga, and he does basically, he's like, all right, Goku always has the same, but every other character that he's ever done with a redesign.
And it's detailed, but you have to know where to put the lines to make the clothes read.
I was going to say that his lighting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say his lighting is ridiculous. Like the way he manipulates shadows and lighting. I mean, I've watched plenty of videos where the artist will say, imagine a light here and you draw your shadows there. But when I look at Akira Toriyama's, like it makes sense. Like it makes sense that okay, this is how you would go about approaching the shadows and lighting on this. And his colors is like they pop, but it's very flat at the same time.
I was going to say it's texture and it's three-dimensional. Like every artist wants to create the illusion of three dimensions, of course, when they draw anything as far as comics are concerned. But Toriyama's really good at like just putting characters in weird poses, not just three-quarter turns as far as their faces are concerned, but also like the clothing. You can tell what kind of clothing they're wearing. Like, oh, that guy's got a silk shirt on. Oh, that dude's wearing a puffy fucking Marty McFly jacket for sure. And this person is wearing a denim jacket. Like, as soon as you see it, the exact, what kind of clothes they're wearing, the texture they're wearing, and on top of that, you can almost hear it like rippling in the wind. Like you could hear like I'm looking at a picture of Goku's pants now with. He's got these ginormous like MC Hammer pants, but these boots that look like they're made of plastic with a rope tied around them. Like it looks like exactly what you're getting. And even his hair, like it's super simplified, but that's all part of the style too. Like like he could draw every individual hair, like he does with Trunks. Like Trunks' hair doesn't look, like
a
freaking piece of candy. Like he's got just a fucking. There's it's shaded. It's every strand is there. It's crazy, dude. Like all the stuff that you're looking at, like, and look at freaking God, it's Mr. Satan, right?
Mr. Satan.
Yeah, look at that fucking Fu Manchu he's got there. That damn James Hetfield handlebar mustache he's rocking is awesome, you know?
And I love these like little inserts he does and promotional things he does.
Yes,
with
those
a lot
are
of
those
group-
are my favorite.
With a lot of group, group shots and stuff
but
like
you
that.
can
It's
see
really cool.
But you can see it's all like it's all three-dimensional, man.
You know, one thing I think he does really good, and I'd put him up against any of the best like American comic book like splash artists, like say a Jim Lee. He does really good splash pages. Like you don't, at least for me, I don't ever tie. I always think the big, gigantic 2-page spread is just an American comic book thing. You know, I think Image. You know, like the big everything was a splash page.
Early
Everything was a
Image.
splash page.
But to be fair, we started that shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
And he was probably to say that American comics aren't on his radar at all.
no, that'd be foolish.
I was about to
Absolutely.
say, like you.
No, that'd be
Dude, Stan and Jack were doing that shit.
But what I'm saying is, I don't correlate the splash page
With manga?
technique with manga. You know, I think first of all, just the reading order is different.
Yeah.
I think smaller
Yes, Butter.
panels.
They're fans of our shit too. Yes, I believe I made that point. Yes, the Japanese aren't isolated to their own island.
No, I got it. My xenophobia is like poking out hard in
Well,
this episode.
congratulations.
Not every country is like Wakanda. That's
Right,
like,
right.
that's the share.
Or Japan, incidentally.
That is not the way.
Gaijin dog.
That is not the way. Ghost dog.
So, what do we think his relevance and impact in today's comic book and pop culture is? Where can we see notably some of his influence in it? And
Killmonger's vest. Yeah, that is Vegeta's vest.
Yes, yes.
yes, I've seen that damn meme going around. That is good. But Ed, you brought up earlier about like a bunch of how Toriyama's artwork was kind of the next generation. You can kind of map it out that way, and I mean, you wouldn't be like fibbing saying that because a lot of manga artists that are in Shonen Jump now or have gained that popularity after Dragon Ball Z ended have quoted him as their inspiration.
Yeah.
The author and artist for One Piece.
And look how long a run he had on that.
Dude, what about One Punch Man?
yeah.
Like they
One Punch
fucking
Man.
reference
Concept, yeah.
DVC all over the place. It's parody, of course, but it's
Yeah.
still good.
I'm talking, so One Punch Man, One Piece, the Naruto creator said Dragon Ball Z and Akira Toriyama was a big Fairy Tail, Bleach, which, I mean, when you think Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece are like some of the big, One Piece is the only other manga that's outsold Dragon Ball. So it's funny to see that he
It's
was
like the
inspired.
longest running one, right?
Yeah.
As far as,
And if we're talking kind of like American animated series, I think the creators for Steven Universe, which I've never watched myself, but they said Dragon Ball and Akira Toriyama's work was a huge inspiration for them.
You can't really tell.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We'll take your word for it.
Yeah, sorry, Steven Universe fans.
Well, even like you said before, like I would
see
say
some
Invincible.
I see
Ryan
some
Otley.
like,
Yep, I was just.
Oh, there you go.
Ryan Otley's Invincible.
There you go.
funny
Like-
with like Steven Universe. I see some like Tezuka like character design
Yeah,
influences. I
yeah.
do see some of that, but I have
That's
to
probably
watch more.
that's
than
probably
Dragon Ball Z.
accidental. That's
It
accidental.
might be. I don't know. Give it
Scotty Young's another one. Scotty Young loves Dragon Ball Z. Like he's always like
He does a lot of those group, like sort of like promo things.
Yeah, all his. Yeah. I think
all the
about
kid
his-
stuff.
yep,
Like
the kid
it's
stuff.
basically
Yeah.
like So him.
And I'm glad you brought up the Invincible.
Man, good
What
call.
about Scott Pilgrim versus the World? What's that guy's
Fuck
name?
yes,
yeah.
of course.
What's his
Brian
name?
Lee O'Malley?
Yeah.
Yes.
That one as well. And then he actually went a step further. That's one thing I've always wished. I wish like more. Well, he's Canadian, but I wish Americans would adopt this manga style and just do stuff like that.
That sounds like socialism. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, we see when I think American comic book artists who could.
I think a lot look like Joe Mad.
Joe,
stuff.
just beat me to it.
Joe
Mad.
Madureira.
Brian Stegman, I think
Is it
newer
Roger
artist.
Cruz? Is it?
Yeah,
Designs
Roger Cruz.
Batman, one of the Batman animated series. Is it Roger Cruz? It was one of the '90s guys that got accused of ripping off Maduro.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Who's the Spider-Man artist that was working with Dan Slott a lot?
Humberto Ramos.
Humberto Ramos.
Ramos, thank
Yeah.
you. I think his work could be
I
interchangeable.
think you see that, especially in the '90s. You see some of that anime influence, but with that American, even like Adam Warren stuff. He did the.
Well, they were trying to
Empowered.
expand, I mean, like they were giving these renegade artists a chance because because Marvel had fucking lost all their renegade artists.
Real quick,
We started our own company.
only because you brought it up about manga artists being influenced by American comics. I always think about the infamous artist for a majority of those Marvel vs. Capcom art games. His name was Bingus. That was his his moniker. I forget his real name, but When Jim Lee was big here in the States, I remember reading an article about Bingus and all of those artists in that art studio. They were trying to imitate Jim Lee.
Capcom's
that's why a lot of those that art.
I mean,
yeah,
a lot of
fantastic.
stuff. I mean,
It crosses over.
Yeah, I was about to say, fucking Ghost in the Shell is straight Blade Runner.
Yeah.
It's Blade Runner all day. I mean,
And
I mean,
Tezuka's
fucking
like Walt Disney's his
Vampire
biggest
Hunt-
influence.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. He's
yeah.
one of the 9 old men. You
Yep.
know, super influenced. Vampire Hunter D is influenced by Elric.
Yeah.
I mean,
it goes back and forth.
yeah.
The
yeah.
Japanese they'll take American elements and then ramp it up to
Right.
insane levels.
Right.
Like you've seen those Japanese rockabilly guys?
Oh, I love that.
Oh.
Those guys
Crazy
in the park.
pompadours.
I love it.
Yeah.
There was a Japanese. Do you know who Balzac, the Misfits
Yeah.
inspired band?
Yeah.
They're fucking great. Their devil locks like go down to their knees.
Yeah.
You know,
They just take it to the
What's
next
the name of this band?
insane level.
Balzac. And
Japanese band?
it's a Japanese they were on Jerry Only's album. What's their label called? Is it Verotic? No, that's Danzig's comic book company.
Oh, Verotic. Verotic.
Fuck, what is it called? I can't remember. Evil Live.
Okay.
I think Evil Live is their album, their record company.
Danzig's comic book company.
Right?
We do an
That's-
episode on
we
that.
Just fucking Danzig art. Just Danzig
For
art.
CNI and like 3 people. Simon Bisley was
So
there.
good. That's
A
right.
lot of
The
boobs.
Biz.
A lot of Devilman influence
Oh,
stuff.
Devil Man.
Yes.
I can't spell Balzac to save my life.
You were close.
Balls.
Wow.
While Steve's looking that up,
Enough of the questions. When do we
Safe
get
filter.
the guns?
Put that safe filter on.
Yeah, because we're at a good stopping point to go on break real quick. But I do want to wrap up by asking, what would be your suggestion for anyone looking into that? I don't know how they've managed to escape, Dragon Ball, much less Dragon Ball. But suggestions for new listeners and readers alike that want to kind of dive into Akira Toriyama's work. Is there a book, a series, animation, or anime, etc., that you would recommend? Hey, this is a really good example of his work. D, what about? We'll start out with you.
I wouldn't know. Like, if you wanted to, I don't know if you go Dragon Ball Z, or I would just tell them to go Dragon Ball Z.
How about? Can you give me something specific? Only because it's so easy to say Dragon Ball Z. What's like one of your favorite examples of his work or bodies of work? Arcs, sagas, etc. Because it's so hard
gods,
to escape.
Battle of the Gods.
Okay.
Dragon Ball Z, Battle of the Gods.
Okay.
Because, I would say that because of the Vegeta. That's still the Vegeta Beerus fight is probably still one of my favorite fights of all time.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, C?
The original Dragon Ball manga.
Boom, I like that. Okay, what about you, Ed?
I'm the same. I'll probably do that and recommend the kind of like Bulma Goku story arc, like the road trip. That's probably my favorite.
All right, I'm going to recommend they've been redistributing the original Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z series in full color magazines now, and I think the American editions are only up to the end of like the Frieza saga. We're still waiting on like the Cell saga, but I recommend those because when it comes to the animation, he wasn't drawing it. They had a company doing that. He just was consulting.
Yeah.
But the mangas are all his work, and it's something about seeing them in full color that I just cannot express,
nice.
man. I think for me, when I read manga, the black and white kind of just all tends to like fade, and it kind of looks. It starts to look the same to me. It kind of gets bland after a certain point, but something about like the added color to his artwork is fantastic. So I'd recommend that. So if you've got something to add to Akira Toriyama, maybe what he means to you, your first encounter for Akira Toriyama, or maybe a suggestion, please feel free to shoot us an email. I'd like to hear your opinions, listeners out there, what the man himself means to you. Maybe you missed something, or maybe you got an interesting tidbit. But without further ado, we're going to go on music break, and then when we come back, we'll talk some more about these trailers that have come out, and then we'll do Champion Season. All right, so stay tuned.
You have no idea how hard that shit was for me to be
when
like.
he texted me, hey, I'm not gonna be able to make it. I said, what?
You
in God's
were like-
name is your reason?
Did you put an IOU with a ring? Fandango.
God.
The least you can do is buy me, hook me up.
Sarah.
Hook me up with a little IMAX Black Panther.
Yeah, baby.
I just gave my ticket to
You know
Ryan.
what? Yeah, and he owes us forever.
He owes me.
Yeah, he owes him.
No, us.
forever.
I bought that
Us.
ticket.
All right, fair enough. Yo,
Did you go halvesies on the ring? Why is it us?
well, actually,
No, actually. None of us in the short box get paid.
wait.
None of us in the short box get paid.
Wait.
Indentured servant.
I'm laughing a little more that Ed brought up a good point about Goku.
Indentured
That-
servitude?
No. He brought that he's a fucking not a home wrecker, a home destroyer. How many times has he brought a villain to King Kai's place unannounced? Like Goku's that drunk friend that shows up
I
at
just
like your
watched
place
the Cell thing where he just like, I don't know where else to go.
and he blows up
Yeah,
King
blows
Kai's.
everybody.
Look, not only does he blow up King Kai's planet, but he also kills King Kai.
Yeah.
Like
Everything vaporizes into dust. Like
Goku.
we're running out of places to blow up.
He should stop making bomb-ass food.
Yeah, bitch. Speaking about Black Panther, I know during the week of Black Panther, there was a lot of what the fuck, dude? Aggressive. There was a whole slew of trailers that came out that I don't think we had a chance to kind of give our opinion and talk about. I mean, it's a lot of trailers, a lot
What
of
was
good
the first
stuff.
one we were going to talk about?
So let's start out with Deadpool.
All right, next.
Wait, you were not a fan of Deadpool?
I was really hoping you were going to say Jessica Jones.
Oh well, I forgot Jessica Jones is coming out. Like it's coming out next week.
I think she
the
forgot.
12th.
She's like,
Tristan Ritter's like,
Zero
wait, what?
hype. Zero hype. This is an Iron Fist. Give her some hype.
so Deadpool 2.
I'm excited for it.
Oh, me
That trailer
too.
was
Like,
awesome.
who's
Roland
directing
looks
this one?
I don't know. Who directed the last one?
He stepped away.
Not that
He
guy.
stepped away, and he's doing the new John Wick.
Creative
I forgot about
differences.
that,
The
yeah.
infamous creative difference.
Are you serious?
They backed Ryan. They backed Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
Like,
Ryan
It was
Reynolds.
between him and they're like, yo. The
Wait.
studio was like, whatever Ryan says goes.
Wait. So
Right.
was him and the director?
Yeah, they were
having
just thinking-
creative differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just stepped away. I mean, they're still cool, but it was one of those things where I was like, that's a big mistake.
I don't know about that. So they got rid of the
I'm gonna
original
look it
director
up.
just because
Oh,
Ryan
and
Reynolds.
him,
Snopes
Ryan
it.
Reynolds, like, yeah, it was one of those. Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds is great, but only because someone writes.
you're
some
Green
funny-
Lantern, man. You
Yeah.
don't have no
I was
stroke.
about to
That's what I'm
say
saying.
he's only
Like-
great because fucking people write shit.
That's
he
what I'm
says,
saying. Like,
you know?
he's not all that in a bag. Like, he's just, all he is just this
He's
really
only as
good looking, like, funny guy.
Right, he's only as good as the people that know how to throw curveballs for him. Like
It's like Jim
I don't-
Carrey. Like, Jim Carrey, if you write something for him, he'll do it very, very well. Like, never let him do anything on his own.
I don't know about that.
Let me
I
inter-
think he's good improvising.
Let me interject with the facts. Tim Miller was Tim Miller. No, I mean he was
Ask
right.
Adam.
Tim, please it brings a tear every time I say that. Tim Miller directed the first Deadpool,
Yes.
and the second Deadpool is directed by David Litch,
Okay.
who made his debut on John Wick 2, or just John Wick. is all
Wick.
they got.
Yeah, they got the John Wick director.
So they got an action director
Yeah,
to direct
that
the
makes
comedy.
sense.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, didn't he
Awesome.
get, like, the guys from Community to direct the Avengers movies?
That's different.
How's that different?
They were first off, they're comedians directing an action movie.
Okay.
That's different. Comedians know timing.
Yeah.
Okay, you're getting an action guy who has no comedic timing whatsoever to direct a movie that only works if there's comedic timing. I don't want to see a fucking Deadpool action movie. I don't want to see that. I love Deadpool because it was a comedy. Like I
Yeah.
saw that it came out what, February?
2016.
Yeah, February, and I was like, that is probably I said it right here on the show. I was like, my favorite comedy movie of the whole year is Deadpool, and I will say it like I will pit it against anything out that comes even in the future. I know for a fact Deadpool is going to beat it all, and
Nice
in my
guys.
opinion, it did. Okay,
Just like nice guys.
I mean, but I don't know. Well, like that's not a balls out comedy though. Like that's like a
you just said comedy, though.
yeah. It's a
But that's, you didn't say balls out comedy. You just said comedy.
Debate.
No. I'm saying
You wanna go
it's
first,
still number one comedy-wise
Oh, okay.
for me.
Oh,
I
yeah.
said for me, it's going to be Deadpool all the way. Nice Guys is like a freaking buddy cop movie with 70s dramatic elements to it. Like
Yeah.
it's good, and it's Shane Black. I like Shane Black. Fuck, who doesn't like Lethal Weapon? But I mean, it's. I want. I don't want.
the Black Panther.
I don't want this movie to suck. Is all I'm saying, and I don't want it to be because Ryan Reynolds didn't get his way.
Like a power
you
move.
know?
Yeah.
Like and also I
Diva.
I like Ryan Reynolds, so I don't want to believe that that's how he is. But I shouldn't be surprised
You never know.
because he's
Yeah.
just a fucking actor,
You don't know behind the scenes. It's hard
and
to
they're
say.
fucking.
Now he looks
shallow-ass
like in
people.
front of the
Yeah, because they
scenes he's
added
at.
way more characters this time, right?
Oh, that's no good.
Well,
That's what they added way. Like they added Domino.
Yep.
They added Cable.
Yeah.
Colossus is going to be back. The
Maybe Shatterstar. We don't know.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Shatterstar.
Yeah, actually, yeah. He's right because I've seen people freeze frame that scene where they're in the helicopter and Shatterstar's
Okay.
on the far right.
Oh.
And me and C always joke about old man goals. Can we talk about like Josh Brolin looking like fucking hype in this movie?
First off, Josh Brolin looked like an old man in Goonies. Okay.
he was like 20. He's old man.
Josh Brolin out here is double dipping
Yeah.
in the Fox and the Big Mouse money.
Yeah.
Come on, baby.
yeah.
Yeah, he's doing all
Thanos.
right.
So it sounded like no one was interested or even knew Jessica Jones season 2 was going to come out. I don't even know who the villain. I don't even know if they solicited.
dude, can
Purple
they-
Man's back.
She has Purple Man.
Purple Man's back.
Is it?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
She's dealing with.
Back in a wheelchair.
No. Wait. What is it?
You will.
like she's dealing with.
I can come in
like,
now.
Because David Tennant, he's in it.
What?
It's one of those like I
Is
think
it
she has like
flashbacks?
PTSD, like she's probably seen him around and stuff.
okay.
So
Fuck that shit.
So he's
man.
like a ghost,
have to
like
see
haunting
it.
her.
That's terrible. So then all the progress she made in the first season is nothing, right? All the undertones of rape and her getting over it and being a strong character, just undermine it completely.
Back in the bottle.
Wait, are we
Okay.
absolutely sure, or does he just show up as flashbacks like Ed said?
I mean, I
He's
don't
in a
know.
wheelchair.
I'm not
He's
gonna
like,
watch it.
I am Purple Man.
Wait, you're not gonna watch Jessica Jones?
Fuck no.
Wait, did you like the first one? I thought
No.
you didn't
Loved
like
it.
the first one.
No, I did not like the first one.
Why not?
Like, okay, so the,
Hit it.
Man, this
No, I'm
is
not gonna-
this is happening.
Hit it. No. Come on, it's a comic book opinionated podcast. I'm not attacking. I'm curious.
Well, it's just like I didn't think it was. Like, didn't really think it was that well. Like I could have done without. Like. Fuck off, Jessica Jones. Like that's all I'm gonna say to that because it's just like, and then at the end, like she kills like. Ugh.
It sounds like
Oh,
there's
it's
a lot of issues.
discombobulated.
Hold on.
So angry.
Hold on.
Breathe. That's good.
Can we edit this part out?
Count to 10.
Yeah. Well, I didn't, like honestly didn't think it was that good. I was just like, okay, like.
Well, you
yeah.
know that, but why? That's the question. You're giving us a lot of. I just want to know specifically what you didn't like, and I'm not, and I'm interested.
Curious. Yeah, me too.
See, like.
Just didn't like the character, or
You have to come back to me on that.
Okay, okay, that's fair.
it's different. It's
That's
a
fair.
different tone.
Because
You know-
I
It's not what I
like
expected.
that Marvel show better than all the other ones as a
It's-
standalone TV show.
It's horror.
It's up there
It's
for
a straight
me.
up horror.
Sure,
It's glory. It's the glory.
The only
thing.
person that like thoroughly enjoyed it was my mom, and I was like, of course you would.
well, because it's good TV. You know, like
she likes
all the
strong
other
woman
ones.
elements. She liked the
Whipping
fucked up
ass.
elements.
All the other ones, they got our money already, man.
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to say no to a DD show that's awesome? You know,
Yeah.
like I'm like, fuck, I can't wait. I didn't know shit about Jessica Jones, and I was like talking so much shit about it. And then when I
She's
watched
a
it,
fairly new character too. So
Yeah.
it's,
I was like, this is actually a solid TV show.
I enjoyed it. So speaking about polarizing, the Venom trailer came out, and there was two camps. Actually, there was honestly only one camp, and it was everyone screaming out, "What the fuck movie is this? Where's anything
I
Venom?"
thought you guys already talked about this.
No, I don't I'm sure we didn't.
You guys haven't
I
talked
haven't been
about
on the
this?
show
We
in like
haven't-
3 months. I don't know. I thought I was fired. I was like, I still have access to the Instagram. I guess I'm not fired.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry. We had community outreach programs.
It's all good.
That was awesome.
It's all good.
That was awesome.
So the Venom trailer came out, and of course, fanboys got in a little tiff.
well, dude, not even fanboys, just people that know. Like what the
Yeah,
fuck?
I think I had
this?
texted you, and I was like, this looks like any other action movie that would have what's name skip my head. What's the name of the main actor?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Sorry,
Oh,
Tom Hardy. Tom
I was
Hardy.
gonna say I was like action movie. Like
Sorry. No, I'm saying I texted you and I was like, this looks like any other action movie that you would see for Tom Hardy. Like this looks like a trailer for an action movie starring Tom Hardy.
oh, it just looked like any generic action movie trailer. I mean, the fucking Born Identity. I don't know who I am. You know, I'm running around. You know, like, are you serious right now? Like this.
So let me play.
One, how the fuck are you going to make a Venom movie without Spider-Man?
Easily. It comes out October 16th, 2019.
Well done. Well done. Well done.
So let me play devil's
You just
advocate.
make it.
Let me play devil's advocate because it's only it's only a trailer and it's the first trailer.
No, that's fine. We're not okay.
Are we obligated to
hold
see
on,
anything
hold on.
Venom?
We're just talking about the trailer. Then yeah, it does its job. It teases you, and you're supposed to be like, what? Like, we're talking about it, so it's doing its job, right? Now,
We're talking about it, so it's
I don't know. My thing.
We're talking about it.
My
so
thing
clearly-
is, if, for a Venom
you're thinking about
movie,
it. Now you're talking about it.
For Venom, you want to see Venom.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not once do they.
You don't want to
even-
see him shaking in a chair.
Yeah, like
Oh, what the fuck is
But
this?
you don't want to see computer monitors just fly out for no reason?
Readings going
That's
off
like
the
a
chart.
trailer for
Trucks almost
Godzilla and
hitting
no
him.
Godzilla.
right.
It's
right.
like, give me something. 'Cause
Right.
The appeal to that character is his visuals
Yeah,
too.
give me that tongue.
It's
I
like
want that
Ghost
tongue.
Rider.
I want that
It's-
Tom Hardy tongue.
He's
like-
an okay character,
Yes.
but the visuals are so cool.
That I don't even care about that Venom movie at all because
It's Eddie Brock, right?
yeah,
I hope so.
So like
Make him black and hunt vampires. That's all I want.
Oh, I'd watch that.
yeah,
Blade?
and then call it Venom.
Venom.
No, something like sword or like knife.
See, I had liked. I forgot.
Sword, the
I forgot
suck
whose
guy.
post that you commented on, but there were certain elements that you said this movie needs to have these key elements.
Spider-Man.
Thank you.
Well,
The Secret Wars.
If we're
I'm just
talking
gonna
about
ask that's a stupid question. Why do we need Spider-Man for a Venom movie?
because you don't get Venom without
Look, I said it was
Spider-Man.
gonna be stupid, right?
No, okay.
Let's take a conversation.
So, look,
guys.
wait. Let's just say this. How does-
Jonathan's gonna blow his brains out. When he
Right,
hears that
right.
question.
Look, the only
How can you have
look,
Venom without Spider-Man?
because let's just say like okay, they figure out a way to give him the fucking suit and the powers. Let's say they figure it out.
Spider-Man never
and
wore it.
and no Spider-Man. Why the fuck do we care? Because Venom stories only work their best when fucking Venom is Max Cady from Cape Fear. That's the only time it's the only time
That's
it
his
works.
whole reason for existing.
Yes, exactly. He is a fucking Max Cady knockoff. That's what he is. He has to be, hey, how you doing there, counselor? Like just kind of walking around. He's not breaking the law. He's not doing anything, but he's
threatening.
fucking threatening the shit out of Spider-Man. Just dude, Spider-Man. It's the same reason why fucking Jessica Jones worked because she never knows when Purple Man's going to show up, and when he does, she has no defense.
No, nobody.
It's okay.
does.
Yeah, that's
And
very
then,
true.
and same with Spidey. He has no idea when fucking what if that one where fucking Venom's folding clothes with Aunt May, you know? And
I
he's
love
just,
that issue.
And then he's just like, what
Fucking
the
creeper.
fuck? And he's like, oh, Peter, your friend came over to help me, and Eddie's like, yes,
I'm gonna
ma'am.
fuck her.
Yeah, right.
Aunt May, no.
You know,
It's a hormone monster.
but that's the
Doc
thing, though.
Ock and Venom.
That's the thing, though, is that those stories work because of that, you know? And even when he's good, Venom, lethal protector,
Can hide
you know,
in plain
like,
sight. Yeah.
yeah.
like, okay, those are okay.
That's-
The only time it was
Yeah.
good was when Rick Remender was writing it. At any time when Flash Thompson took it, but that was
Okay,
after
that's cool.
development and just after
Right.
a long
Completely
time, and you
different
wanted to see
directions.
Venom.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. But again, the suit it's all built on like other stuff. Like Flash idolized Spider-Man, and then Flash, and he was a bully. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, he grew as a character. He ended up becoming friends with Peter as they got older. They grew up, as it happens in real life.
And
You
did
know.
he
Then he
paralyzed
fucking
too, right?
becomes. Yeah, he's
So
fucking
he's a
fights
former
for his
athlete
country.
that-
Fucking gets shot up, and then someone says, here, you always wanted to be Spider-Man, and here's the time to do it when it's at your lowest, absolute lowest. And he's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is my dream, you know?
Yeah.
Someone gives him the suit. It's like, that would be awesome. But again, without any of that subtext, not even subtext, without any of that previous text at all, no one gives a shit. Who cares?
Did you hear like that theory that like Carnage is actually going to be in this movie?
Yeah, I did. hear
Anti-Venom.
that.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
bring them all.
Don't we say? Yeah.
I mean, were you the one that said that Spider-Man's going to be in it now?
No.
No, I
don't
thought
think
I
I saw
read
it.
somewhere, could be fake news, that
Latino
Spider-Man
review?
was gonna
Hashtag
be in
fake news.
Latino review.
Latino review.
Said
Damn
that
it.
they might bring him in there. They're kind of
So
playing
okay,
with it.
that's fine. Like if
Tom
they do
Holland.
that, dude, that
Hi,
would be
guys.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like, but
Bye,
again,
guys.
but you got to have something there. Like him just showing up doesn't make sense. Like
Remember when-
Jesus, Tom Holland doesn't even work for fucking Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
In
Remember
this
when
in this universe.
they thought Life was going to be like a secret Venom movie?
Yes, I do.
They should have done that.
That actually was a good movie.
They should.
though.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. Very, very much well.
That
So we're gonna just continue the.
All right, next shitty trailer.
Yeah, we're gonna continue the polarized train. Star Wars Han Solo flick or trailer. Yet
Okay.
another one.
Yeah, okay.
That did not get the hype and appreciation.
Cool.
I think maybe
You know what else?
expects
You know
now.
what I like when
Hit
they
it.
explain the shit out of characters that should remain mysterious.
Yeah.
That's something I really like
Like I think the
because it really worked for Wolverine.
Well, we got Logan.
He was in the circus.
we got that sweet Paul Jenkins
And he was in the circus.
origins.
He was a circus freak. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was 18.
You didn't like Logan?
He was a
That's good.
farmer.
Logan's
He was a,
that's like post.
he was a
That's like when he's old.
He was in the
Hey,
circus?
we got there.
I don't need.
We got there. We got
the amongst seeing Adam when I think huge
He
Star
was
Wars
Amish,
fans.
right?
What was your thoughts on the? Are you excited for the Han Solo?
I'm
movie?
excited about
How'd the
Lando
trailer?
Calrissian.
Wait,
I was like, he didn't say
Lando
shit, and he just
What
smiled.
is, so what is it about the trailer that didn't get you hyped like all
What's
the other
that?
ones?
That didn't get me hyped. It was just like it already has a bad taste in my mouth because of the fact that the director walks off. That's just never good. When a director
Nope.
walks off, and it's just like, okay,
Isn't
Yep.
Isn't
Like-
there a couple directors?
Yeah.
yeah, there's
seems to be a
they've gone
trend
through
with
a lot.
Disney.
Disney
It's Ron
is,
Howard,
be a
right?
trend.
Yeah.
Is he doing it? No.
Wait.
Yeah, Ron Howard
Ron
is
Howard.
doing it.
Is it?
Yeah, Ron Howard's
Okay.
doing it. I forgot who the original director was.
I'll be Adam. Give me a second.
But I mean,
Snopes.
I'm not mad at I'm not mad about it. Like, you're gonna give me Star Wars, that's what I want. They're gonna do the Star Wars TV show. That's okay. It's just, I mean, I still have my books. I can pick and choose what I want.
Yeah.
Drew's right again. Ron Howard.
And
Yeah.
I'm anxious to
Drew.
see. I want to see. I'm just really excited to see the Millennium Falcon, what it looks like originally. Like, I want that part of it. What I don't like is the fact that they're just making all these different types of fucking stormtroopers. Like, just for
Well,
the
how
sake
else
of
are they going to
it.
sell toys?
Yeah, that's what
Action
I'm saying.
figures.
That's what I'm saying. They got the one of the stormtroopers that like they have a toy for. He looks like what was that Tom Cruise movie where he kept dying and
Day after
Day
Tomorrow.
after Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow and stuff. Like, you know that big like suit that he wears
Yeah.
and stuff like that. There's a stormtrooper that wears a suit like that.
You know,
Okay.
I related to this. I was at Target the other day, and I saw a shit ton of Rose Tico toys, just a whole fuck ton of them on the thing, and I was like, fuck that clearance. Nobody wants her toy. Good,
Clearance.
fucking good.
Ed, did the Han Solo trailer work on you at all?
No.
Did it get you hyped?
I mean, it kind of did the. It kind of.
Dude, I took a picture of that shit. That's how much it made me laugh.
God damn it, you bitter asshole.
It wasn't in a clearance bucket, like in the front,
No.
like a bin.
I want, like, I'm anxious to see how this guy does because
Yeah, I'm curious to
Good
see.
point. You know what? That's a good point. Do any of the actors?
yeah, I mean, I like
Woody
Woody
Harrelson.
Harrelson. We got Woody Harrelson.
Oh, Woody
but at
Harrelson
the same
took me
time,
out of it
Woody
so
Harrelson
much.
did deliver that corny ass
Woody.
line.
Hey, kid,
We're
Like,
putting
put together a team.
Ah, come on.
What the fuck are you doing here, Woody? Get out of here. Go make Kingpin 2, Woody.
Oh, I would love Kingpin too.
He's like, the Hunger Games is done. I
Oh,
need
that's a
another
great movie.
Damn. I was like,
Funny,
yo.
I liked him. I love the fuck out of his character in Hunger Games. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
You
Yeah,
like
yeah.
him in Apes?
Haymitch. Oh yeah,
Yes.
he's so good in it.
He
Come on.
was a good fan.
Okay,
Crazy ass
well, see,
white dude
I mean,
shaving in the winter?
Let me ask you.
Come on.
Like a
Shout out to
real
Matt for
question
that.
and
Shout out to
stuff.
Matt.
What's an actor you would like to see in a Star Wars movie? Because I got Benicio del Toro, and I was very, very excited about that.
Yeah, and then we got shit in our mouth.
Yeah, and he's like,
Well, you know, like 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
That's how I felt.
I don't mind watching that.
it's right in the mouth, no cup.
I mean, I don't care. They've had a lot of fucking awesome movie people in these new Star Wars movies. Like Max von Sydow is one of my favorite actors, and he was in The Force Awakens, which I do like. The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So that's good right there. I mean, my problem with what's going on in Star Wars has nothing to do with actors.
Forrest
good
Whitaker.
actors.
Oh wait, he's been.
You know, they could get somebody like
Never
Benicio
mind.
del Toro in there. Like, I enjoy it. Even new actors. I like Domhnall Gleeson a lot.
Okay.
I think he's good. I fucking love him in Ex Machina.
There's another question I have, because I was re-watching Cowboy Bebop, and I was just like,
Oh, what a great.
there's, if by some miracle, if they were going to make a Star Wars TV show kind of like Cowboy Bebop, would you be down for that?
I'd be down. I'd be down for good Star Wars shit. Period.
Wait, I gotta ask.
Problem is,
wait, why would you want it in Cowboy Bebop style?
Cowboy Bebop style because they're bounty hunters. They're bounty hunters and they go all these different worlds.
But Cowboy Bebop is influenced by Star Wars, so that's probably why it's good. You know, like I mean, not just
sweet
only
soundtrack.
Yeah, jazz, dude, love it. It's not it. There's a shit ton of things wrong with Star Wars. We don't have enough time.
Yeah, but you know what? Logic is half black, so.
Oh,
that was a hell of a throw there.
just to go back, I would like to see. The only thing I'm kind of interested in seeing is like how he gets the Millennium Falcon. I think it's what most people just want to see, but I'm not excited about it. I thought it was supposed to be every December they're doing these.
Yeah,
when did that change?
Well, you got to get a
are they gonna
Netflix
do it?
subscription to DC movies, and then after you pay your maybe $50 a month, you'll have a great movie experience.
So the last trailer I got, which I think for me is up there with Deadpool. Regardless of the Deadpool behind the scenes, I still think that was a solid trailer that did its job for me. Ant-Man trailer also came out, which I think was really strong. I think Wasp looks awesome as hell. And
yes,
I like when they shrunk the building down and had the luggage thing, and they just
that knife scene was cool as shit.
I feel like that's the thing. Like, I love the fact that they made what's her name such a fucking badass.
Oh yeah, Janet.
It's just like, to me, it's just like, okay, that is how you introduce a female character, and that's how you do it. Because like she can take care of her own.
She was a badass in the first one.
That's what I'm saying.
Like she didn't need a.
Like, if I was Scarlett Johansson, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, are you serious?
I want
like,
to drink. That's the thing. It's like,
and we're
she
getting
can
hot
fly and
and
have blasters. That wasn't available. Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
And we get I'm curious in their choice of villain, Ghost, which
C-list Iron Man,
super
villain.
C-list,
D-list.
His power, or I think it's a she in this.
She
the
can
gender
phase
swap
through
this,
walls like
and something about technology too, right? Like she can
it's like one of
control
like a
electronics or some
traditional like Iron Man villain that's like a screwed over scientist that takes the technology and like uses it for evil or to steal stuff.
Like, I mean,
pay your employees, Stark.
guys. This is just going to be another good 70% on Rotten Tomatoes Marvel movie. It's solid. What else can we say? They're not going to take any risk. It's going to be safe. Everyone's going to have a good time.
Post-Infinity Gauntlet too.
Yeah.
is it really?
Yeah, it's going to be. Is it?
Really?
Yeah, it's what Infinity Gauntlet.
go and check
Or the
Two
first
movies.
one.
Yeah, it comes out
Oh,
April
okay.
27th.
2 movies long though, right? Isn't it just part 1?
No, Infinity War
they
is
stopped
its
doing
own
that.
thing.
Yeah.
No. It's
just-
Infinity War, and then Avengers 4 is a whole different movie. Infinity War is by itself.
Yeah, they got rid of
Yeah,
that.
it's not
5-hour
part
movie?
2.
Yeah, I was about to say, how are they going to
It's gonna
do
beat
that?
Thanos in 2 hours.
Oh, Jesus.
Cannot wait.
Adam Warlock
You know
just
what?
pops out
Hold on.
and beats the shit out of him.
Good, because I swore I would only go as far as Infinity War, and then I'm
then
done
you're
with
done?
Marvel. Dude.
Really?
Heck,
Doctor
fuck yes.
Strange?
They're not movies. They're serials.
Uh-huh.
They're just cereals.
Yeah.
I have.
Love fucking cereal.
No,
It's
that's
delicious. Frosted
that's great.
Flakes, Cheerios.
Enjoy TV. I don't like TV that much. I really don't. Especially at the movies. I want my movies to be movies and not TV. If I want cereals, I'll go back in fucking time and watch Flash Gordon. No, thank you. Please.
You sound like Willy Wonka. Like that.
Etc. Etc.
Mic drop. All right, so that wraps us up for the trailers that we had to play catch up on. I do have one reader email I'd like to read, and then we'll jump into champion season. See, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Oh,
I just want to say also, if Nick Wagner is listening, my ball still hurt from when you sack tapped me.
I thought he tattooed your nuts.
I'm
He
gonna
did.
ask him.
He did. When he
gonna
tapped
ask
it,
him.
automatic tattoo. Automatic tattoo.
pits.
Just with his fingers, he can magically displace
Give you a
ink.
tat.
Oh my God.
All
It's
right.
a Hellboy tat, at least, you know.
This is from Matthew Vigo. Good day, short boxers and short briefs alike. Stupid joke. Today I'm stepping out of my... He wrote that, by the way. That's not me commentating
No,
on
it's like,
his
let's
email.
see.
Oh, man.
That's pretty rough, huh?
Critique.
Today I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and going down to test my metal in March Beat Battle at Spliff's Gastropub.
Wow.
I
That was
found
this past weekend.
I found the event thanks to you guys and the wonderful Trust Your DJ episodes. You're welcome. Being that the short box is ever growing and trying to spotlight different events around town, I thought I would take a second to champion hip hop and hookah. I follow them on Facebook to keep posting them, and they keep posting great events like the aforementioned Beat Battle. And they had a Jay Dilla night a couple weeks ago.
I did see that.
Said.
Yep. I went.
So for people who want to check out more in the music scene in Jax, check them out. From Matthew Vigo.
Fantastic, and he actually sent me the beat he entered, and he said we could use it. So I think at the end of the show, instead of We'll just be playing that
Holy
beat.
shit.
Give Kayla and Parrish a break.
Does your brother know about this?
This is the one that tell him not to listen to. But no, that's great, Matt. And I'm Matt, if you could email and let us know how that night went. I am curious to see what the competition was like and the outcome.
He didn't say it in the email, so I guess I didn't do.
Well, he sent this.
I would have said I won.
He said this Friday. He said this like on a Thursday.
Okay.
But I haven't heard from him all week.
That is fucked up.
That's good. But I'm happy to hear that something like our Trust Your DJs episode inspired you to reach out, look more into the music scene in Jax. That's always one of our goals. So that's fantastic. And like I said, we'll play that beat that Matthew submitted at the end of the show. Before we get into champion season, I do want to give a quick shout out. I was looking at some of the analytics for the show and where our users are. I always like to know who and what areas of the world we're reaching. I want to give a quick shout out to our listeners in Canada, India, Kazakhstan, and Qatar.
Kazakhstan? Is that
Kazakhstan.
Is that where Borat's from?
Yes.
Awesome.
Kazakhstan.
Yes.
I think for sure that the Qatar analytic is our
They're all
man.
military.
It's actually, I'm sure it's Parrish. So Parrish, if you're listening, what's up, brother? So,
Paris
anyways,
is in Qatar right now?
yeah. So Canada, India, Kazakhstan, Qatar.
OPSEC.
No, not at all. He's
Just
not.
joking.
Actually, if you're from one of these non-American countries, shoot us an email.
Wow, that almost went.
Hold on.
I said
If you're from one of these,
Shoot us an email and use Google Translate, so it's the worst translation period.
Yes.
Dude, yeah.
Me like short box.
So, all right,
Anyway, I'm
folks,
happy fun times.
gents, let's go ahead and jump into our champion season.
Whoa.
Champion season for your first time. I'm trying something new out, right?
God.
Break the monotony.
Demonic possession?
Champion
Shaggy
season
sending you metal tracks
for
to
you.
listen to?
Man, don't get me started. Champion season for your first time tuning in is the segment of the show where we go around the table. Everyone gets a chance to highlight a few things within pop culture that has really resonated with us this week. So it could be a movie, a television series, a comic book, etc. that we feel, hey, this is really dope, and I think everyone should check it out. D, how about you launch us off? What are you going to champion this episode?
Champion two things. First thing I'm going to champion is Dragon Ball Super, the Goku Black episode. I finished it. Felt so many emotions. I'm here to say that Vegeta and Trunks is still by far my favorite character. Fucking love it. Song-wise, the only song that I've been playing a lot of is A$AP Ferg's Plain Jane. I just want to rob people. Because of that. And then I watched Atlanta season 2, episode 1. Oh, you want to talk about that now? Oh, it was like, oh.
Was that shit not fantastic?
Yo, because you were
I got a
hyping up
duo
the
champion.
intro to it so much, spoiler alert, and I was just like, okay, like, why are we, like, it reminded me of, what's that, The Wire, when you're following the kids, and then it just basically just goes from there. Like, shit was crazy. And then I love how they broke down Florida Man.
Oh, Florida Man's a real thing.
Florida Man
Follow
is
him
a
on
real
Twitter
thing.
for sure.
Oh,
Follow
Florida Man, yeah.
Yes, if you got a Twitter,
Oh, totally.
follow Florida Man.
So,
It's all the crazy
Yeah.
news, like people.
You know how it's always like Florida Man has sex with alligator. Florida
Yeah.
Man punches. What was it
One
an
was
example
like
in the show?
Someone threw an alligator through a drive-through window.
So it's like a
crazy
collection
shit.
of all
Yeah.
of the infamous like Florida Man
Florida.
news handles.
Oh my god,
Good
It's
ones,
amazing.
C. What about you, man? What do you got to champion today?
I am going to champion basically all the Matt Wagner Dynamite Zorro stuff. It's great. I like Matt Wagner. He's a fucking awesome writer. He does some good shadow stuff as well. And I like the character, but I had no real, I guess, desire to check out their Dynamite line because, poor Dynamite, they kind of get lost in the dirt. But at the same time, I was like,
Lady
well,
Rawhide in it?
no, unfortunately. But this is pretty good. And what else?
have
did
you
I
read the
wanna
Lone Ranger? The Lone Ranger
Not
one?
yet.
Because I keep
want
hearing
to.
that one's really, really good.
Yeah, that
and
one.
I think Chamberlain's has the omnibus there.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you hide it?
No.
I hide it.
I
Totally do that at Chamberlain's.
Oh,
too.
everyone does it, man.
Ah.
Everyone does it.
And I forget where I hit it.
Yep.
God, there was something else.
I feel like Nicolas Cage in what's that movie where he finds stuff all
National
over?
Treasure?
National Treasure.
I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, I think that's it right now.
Okay, so like the Zorro year, like the Matt Wagner stuff, like is this just a retelling? Is it?
Yeah, they do a little bit of a retelling, but it's also a lot of tribute. Like if you've seen the original Mark of Zorro starring Tyrone Power, there's like a few camera angles and shots that he, I guess the artist Franco Villa, something like that. It's the guy that does Afterlife with Archie. I keep forgetting his name.
Is it Villanueva or
Yeah, it's something like that. Let's see. What do the robots say here? Francesco Francavilla.
Francavilla,
Yeah, and Matt Wagner, he himself is a pretty decent artist as well, of Grendel fame.
Grendel and Mage.
That's right.
Wow.
But
Does he draw it or no?
no.
Oh, okay.
But they do a lot of stuff. Like they incorporate a lot of really good, I think a lot of cool stories, a lot of history from Spain.
Is it as good as the Antonio Banderas classic?
It's up there.
Oh,
It's up there.
Oh god, this
That Antonio Banderas is good, but it worked for the same reason Batman Beyond works, because it's the same story. It's yeah, I highly recommend. It's a good read.
All right, Ed. What about you? What do you got to champion?
I'm going to champion season 4 of Black Mirror, especially if you want to watch two. It's like Twilight Zone, so each episode's different. Check out the USS Callister. This kind of the Star Trek one that kind of got some buzz. That's the season premiere. And Black Museum is probably the most Twilight Zone of all that season. And a new Netflix original, Altered Carbon. If you like Blade Runner, that kind of stuff, it's like a crime noir, Blade Runner-esque series. It's really good.
All right. So as far as mine, if you'd like some sort of supplemental material to go along with the first part of this episode, I recommend Dragon Ball: The Complete Illustrations. It collects the original artwork. Well, not original, but it collects artwork from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and it was a few of the images that we were looking at while doing this episode. So it's on Amazon for relatively cheap. It's a good amount of collection. It's majority of it is in color, so that's always good. It's a hardback, so fantastic little book to buy, and I think it'll amplify this experience listening to this episode. I'm also going to champion Ed. You had championed this a couple episodes ago, but the Netflix documentary, "The Toys We Grew Up With." I finally got a chance to start watching.
Wow,
it.
that's not even the name of the series. Toys That Made Us?
Oh yeah. Sorry, definitely.
Toys We
Potter's
Grew
like,
Up
have you?
God damn it!
Potter did it
I just
again.
did it to myself. God,
You're reading off of a fucking paper.
Hold on.
I know. That means I typed it wrong.
Hold on.
The
For those
Toys
of
We
us,
Grew Up With?
for those of us that
show.
know,
All right,
have
come
known Potter for this long, he's getting this now. We tell him about something awesome,
Fucked up.
and then like
6
a
months
few
later.
months later, he's going to be like, "Guys, have you heard of this Toys That
be
made
a
us?"
couple
I gave him his credit. I gave Ed the credit.
Guys,
But
It's
if
more than
anything,
2 episodes
He's getting
ago,
faster
'cause-
because it's a couple of weeks rather than 4
I haven't
years.
been on. I haven't been on since December, so it's been more than 2 episodes. So it was a lot of episodes back.
Potter's like the fucking raptors in Jurassic Park. You're like learning to open the doors.
It's good. It's good. The Toys That Made Us.
The
on
toys
Netflix.
that
He
make us
remembered,
who
though.
we are.
That's a step. He remembered.
It's true.
Yeah,
It
he
is
remembered.
phenomenal. Like, I'm finding that that Star Wars episode was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
The Barbie one was
That's
ridiculous
crazy.
too, man. So
I'm gonna make a new Netflix special, "The Ass Whoopings That Made Us," all about
That
brown
episode-
moms.
was not
So-
expecting all that in
yeah,
that episode.
I was it's only 4 episodes. I'm sure
They're working on you.
Okay,
I'll
so what's
see-
this what's this Barbie thing? Sell me on it.
Shit, man. You just gotta honestly, you gotta watch it. Like I don't anything I say is gonna ruin
Spoil
it.
Yeah.
Does it just go into detail, like
About
how
how
much
it-
money they made, or like the concept of how
the
it
concept. I didn't know that a dude had made it. Like a dude had
and kind of just
the whole nipples,
basically-
the nipplegate stuff portion of it.
there's a lot of
Nipplegate?
sexual.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
More,
You gotta watch
it's
it. They're
pretty crazy.
And like I said, once you start one, because the Star Wars one ties into the He-Man stuff, like because they were
Yeah.
direct competitors, etc.
Are they
So-
making
Did you
a
see the Star
transgender
Wars one?
Barbie?
Did you watch any?
No,
of
I
this?
haven't seen any of these.
Yes, yeah, it's
There's this
fantastic.
Darth Vader toothpick thing.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
thing is awesome. Like he pulls out like the lightsaber, but it's a toothpick.
Yeah,
So it's a
wasn't it like a
toothpick
Japanese store or
toothpick
some shit like that?
dispenser, yeah.
It was like one in Japan.
This
yeah.
guy had this warehouse full of like Star Wars.
It's on Lucas
Oh, my
Farms
God.
or the Lucas Farms spot.
Yeah.
So the toys that made us is I'm gonna just back up what Ed had said back in December. Fantastic documentary, and I'll just bounce on Drew's champion. Atlanta season 2. Atlanta's back for season 2. This I think this Thursday was the first episode of season 2. I know that season 1 was championed by me. Walt Ashley even championed
What
it.
part did you like? What did you like about the season 2 premiere?
I'm just gonna give a very general statement, but Cat Williams in this is fantastic.
Oh my God.
Cat Williams not only was his
Gotta watch
special
it now.
pretty damn good, but look, Cat Williams. Like the last 2 years, he was getting all that negative PR press for just being fucking crazy. He's had like all
Yeah,
the,
it
like,
happens when you do drugs.
getting
Did he
it
get, like,
like
start
getting into a fight with a
the
kid.
kids? Yeah, they all
He's
beat his
basically
ass.
that character.
He got in a fight with a kid.
Yeah, you
Like
got
a bunch of
yeah.
kids playing football or something,
And like this
whipped
kid
his
like
ass.
talks shit about it.
So whipped his
It's
ass.
basically that character in this show, and but he actually executes it really well. He's not. It's a really good opener. I told Drew.
Is
like,
he himself though?
Well,
It's
I
kind
mean,
of like exaggerated.
Like,
Yeah.
does he act?
Definitely
Does he
exactly.
do well, or is it?
oh,
just,
he does really well.
is
I was
it-
really
It's
impressed.
not like I'm just gonna do this, boo boo, and that's what we're gonna do. Y'all understand that real ass motherfuckers? That's what we do. I'm like, all right, I've had enough
no,
of
no,
that.
no. He does it really well. So I got to look. If you like season 1, season 2 off the bat is off to a strong.
Does he
start.
play himself, or is it just a character?
No,
in
it's
the
a
show?
character,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's basically Cat
All they do
Williams.
is just
Okay.
add, like they just make it to where you ask more questions. Because
I heard that this show is basically Twin Peaks.
it is Twin Peaks, and it is
Oh,
Have you watched Twin
but-
Peaks before?
no.
Okay.
Because
Wait,
Donald Glover has actually said, well, here's the thing. Donald Glover has actually said, like, the reason why he wrote this is because he wanted to do a comedy based off, like, he wanted to do Twin Peaks, but, like, make it a comedy. And then here's the thing from the standpoint. Have you ever watched Atlanta? Because you're such a, like,
I
you're-
want to see it.
You're the
I just
subject
don't
matter
have-
expert
I
of,
do-
like, of all this, like,
I don't
TV productions
no,
and
I-
the way camera angles are and stuff like that. The way I'm saying this is, let me get this out.
He's being nice.
No, I'm just saying. No, in the sense of like, because Butter was
That's what I
sending me
think.
all this information about like, like when you're filming a comedy, and like you do the punchline,
Timing, yeah.
and you're supposed to do like the camera angle to like certain things to make it thing. He purposely doesn't do certain camera angles to. It's just the way. Like, what was the one thing you sent to me about it? Was the fact that like he doesn't do things on purpose.
So there's a write-up about Donald Glover in the show in New Yorker, and Donald Glover finally was talking about some of how they got the show started, how they kind of had to trick executives. I mean, like many a great.
Oh, yeah.
He's just
Totally.
playing the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
totally.
I think the thing that Drew's trying to talk about is the show tends to break the typical techniques used in most comedies. Like instead of in most comedies when you have a punchline, they zoom in on the character making the joke or something like that to emphasize it. They kind of keep the camera wide or some shit like that. So
Is it so?
Hey, Chihuahua.
Is it? You've had enough, sir. Is it?
I think of all people, you would appreciate the
But
show.
is it like a comedy? Is that what it is?
Yes.
It is a comedy, but it's also social commentary. There's so
lot.
much stuff that they do that, like, I was even blown away. And Butter was like, oh my God. Because Adam was watching it. And Adam, for the longest time, we were texting. I was like, yo, you need to watch this show. You need to watch the show.
Yeah, Adam
And
ate it up in like a day.
He did it in a day. And it deals with something with something effect. What was the name of that effect?
the Streisand effect.
There's a whole episode where they just basically do the Streisand effect or whatever
Look,
it was.
What Drew's trying to say is every episode has a lesson, and it's usually about some social commentary. One might be about
You're turning me off.
well,
You're turning me off. I don't need a show to be didactic.
but you don't realize it. They're not shoving it down your throat. It's not that apparent. Like
Maybe
at a
you don't
high level,
realize
you're like, oh, this is just comedic.
He's a comedian. Like you said, you like comedian. He's a comedian that's writing something, and it's twin. Like he. The only way I can say
I'll
it's
watch
just really,
it.
really good.
I don't
it's
have
one of
access to
these-
it. That's
you
the
just gotta
thing.
watch it.
I don't have
But
access to it.
Regardless, Atlanta season 2 starts off strong. If you're an episode of season 1, I recommend it as well. But that's the end of my champion. I wanted to give everyone a chance to do a shout outs, shameless plugs. See, are you doing any performances?
March 25th. March 25th. I think that's a Sunday. I'll be at the Real Ting Cafe.
Oh, dude, yes.
Yes.
Wait. You're going to be at the Real Ting.
Yeah, doing
I'm there.
improv.
I'm there.
Doing improv.
I'm going to be that
kinda like
annoying
what-
dude in the back.
It'll be kind of like
Real Ting, man.
Real thing.
it'll be like Wiling Out. It's kind of.
I'll
so,
play steel drums.
When is it?
March 25th.
I got it. Oh, I'm there. You're going to need me there.
2 days after. 2 days after I get
Hell yeah,
married.
dude.
Is it? Whoa. What?
Getting married March 23rd.
You're not going on honeymoon?
Well, I'm going to Maryland in April, and we're doing the honeymoon afterwards.
Okay.
Once again, congrats.
Is this like a open mic thing, or is this like a
No, improv show.
Now,
oh
baby.
improv show?
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
So you're doing improv, not stand up.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Is it any big? I mean, are you
What's the
preparing
group
any
name?
differently?
What's that?
Are you preparing for it differently?
Yeah, I'm doing push-ups. What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm saying like technique-wise.
No, I
What are you, a hippo just now? Ed? An elephant?
I saw an opening.
awesome.
I saw an opening. I took it. No. I just my buddy Shay Clemens, who is also a comedian. He's really good. Just was like, dude, we're trying to do an improv show. It's going to be like Wild 'N Out. And
What's the name of the group?
I don't know yet. He says,
that is so
I
clever.
want you. I said, I want you to be in the team. I think you'll be like the ringer. You know, nobody knows anything. No one sees you coming. So
Cool.
So I'm happy.
All right, March 25th
Wow.
at the Real Ting. Word. Ed, any shameless plugs?
Ed bought 5,000 on all social media.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
Don't
Ed,
say
come
it
on,
like
look that
that.
shit up.
Ed Bot
Get more of that. Then.
Hold on. Let me
Ed
get a
bought
little-
1,000.
I just started a Patreon.
Fucking
so
sad bought 5,000.
No, that's
Balls
that's
at 5,000.
Patreon, you doing cosplay?
I'm
No,
doing a
Patreon.
Patreon. I'm
That's
doing
funny.
lewd cosplay. So $20 tiers. You can
Guys,
see my butthole.
if you want to see Ed do goatsy,
No, there's
for you.
Do I get that exclusive
Surprisingly-
Instagram channel with the Patreon?
Surprisingly, there's other. It's not just porn on Patreon, and I'm that. So,
and I'm that.
and I'm the not porn.
Straight
stuff.
Chillin's got a Patreon, right?
Yeah, we do.
So it's pretty much how I'm gonna just do my commissions from now on is just do that page because you can just hop in and out. You don't have to commit to a monthly thing. So that's pretty much how I'm gonna just set up my commissions to that. And I actually have a few. I was surprised. I actually have a couple to do this month.
Oh, yeah.
So that's about it. Yeah, and everything else is like Instagram and Patreon are probably.
Can you? Is there like? I can ask you off the thing, but like, what is I'll just ask you off the side because I'm interested in getting commission, but painted like one of your paintings is amazing.
Patreon.com.
If I put money towards the Patreon, would you pose as George Costanza on the couch for me?
I'll take a dump and take my shirt off.
Okay.
It's like
D, any shameless plugs or anything you want to plug in last minute?
I would like to plug the Showbox Jack's podcast. I have nothing to
Meta.
plug. I'm sorry. Actually, no. Actually, I do. I lied. So for a lot
swerve.
of you guys, new listeners, the tagline is "The struggle is real." So recently, I sold
know, she
my
just moved to Avenue.
entire
Motherfucker.
comic book collection.
Oh,
And
okay.
There is a very nice man by the name of Steven. Or not, that's Steven, I'm sorry. I messed that up. His name's Scott. And he buys comic books. So if you want to just hit him up, he's looking for old toys, old comic books.
Oh, I'll definitely.
Wait, real quick, before you give his number, is there a website or something?
No website. And I asked him,
Okay.
text him, I was like, hey, can I just give you
Steven, buckle the fuck up, Steven.
Scott. It's actually Scott. So I
sorry,
messed it
Scott.
up. It's not Steven. His name is Scott. I messed it up.
No email, just the phone number?
No, just the phone number. So,
Scott.
yeah.
This is not the way to do this, Scott.
Look, he's done a bunch of the comic book shows.
I'm
He
just-
goes to North Carolina
I'm
and
just
stuff.
looking out for him. It's just-
Yeah. But real nice guy. He'll work with you. He'll come and look at your collection and
Okay,
stuff.
yeah.
So
Let's sell some stuff.
904.
He's not cool with me giving his number on the short box.
It's okay. Potter Milligan's phone number in the.
They know where they
already
can find me.
posted
they know where they can find me. The only shout outs I got is I want to shout out the Pop Loot Crate. It's a new podcast about Funko Pops and toys. It's got a few friends of ours.
Yo,
Mike's
are they paying us?
no.
What the
But
fuck are you doing then?
right.
Mike Sitjar, AV, Derek Novato, they got together and started a podcast.
Oh,
about that.
Derek.
Yeah, so give them a shout out.
AV
Friendly-
and Mike, huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
So friendly shout outs to
AV
them.
and Mike.
I want to congratulate Ryan and Holly.
Oh, yeah.
They got
That was
hitched.
fun.
So spectacular event to them. And and iHeartRadio. We just got on to iHeartRadio's library. So yeah.
All right.
So you can find us there. So without further ado, ladies and gents, we're gonna wrap up this episode. Like I said, we're gonna play Matt Vigo's beat that he submitted in the beat battle. It's called Fearsome Eyes. And for you new listeners, if you enjoyed the show and you want more Shortbox content, you can always go to our official website, shortboxjacks.com. Like I said, from there you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher Radio. Now we're on iHeartRadio. So anywhere that you can find podcasts, you can find us. We're also all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. Ed does a spectacular job posting material up there. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll find you next week. Peace. Bye.